Hey witches, welcome to Busy, Gritty, Inked and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of almost 25 years, Avalon priestess, and busy witch. Here we'll talk all things witchy, from current metaphysical happenings to my busy witch tips and tricks, and everything in the in-between. This podcast is my personal journey, filled with my knowledge, opinions, and unique way of looking at the world. Join me as I weave the magical and the mundane in every episode. Hey witches, welcome back to Busy, Gritty, Inked, and Witchy. I am Morgan, and today's episode is You Asked for a Sign. Yes. Okay, so the universe, your intuition, your guides, whatever it is that you want to call it, rarely shout at you. Okay? Unfortunately, when you ask for a sign or when you ask for guidance, it's rarely crystal clear and clear cut and all of that good stuff. Okay. Generally, it is more of a nudge. So that's what I'm talking about today. When the universe whispers to you, that's how I'm going to refer to it from this point forward. But way back in episode 61, so this is episode 182. So if you're new here, you got to go back to listen to episode 61. You don't have to. It's not like a precursor. But that episode was called When a Sign is Not a Sign. And I talked about exactly that, when a sign is not a sign. So that is a great starter episode to this topic. But in today's episode, what I'm going to be focusing more on is like the little nudges that can be sent from the universe, common little nudges, little whispers, and how to spot them, how to open yourself up to them, all that good stuff. Okay. The idea for this episode came from this past weekend. For me, it was my husband and my anniversary getaway, 26 years married now. Holy crap, right? So every year we go off, we just stay in Tucson, but we go to a different resort and just stay for like Friday, Saturday, and leave Sunday. And Friday night was not a great night for me. I actually had a panic attack at a resort. I know. But anyway, while I was going through this panic attack or shortly thereafter, and I was staring at the ceiling and I was like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand how one has a panic attack while in complete and utter relaxation at a resort. So I'm like, is there something more going on? If there is, can I please have a sign? Okay. And the next day, holy shit. Actually, when I asked for that, it was after the first panic. I had too many panic attacks. So it was after the first panic attack and before the second one. And we took this walk in between the two. But the first thing that started popping up for me were snakes. All of a sudden, I started seeing snakes, including this necklace that I'm wearing. I did share this in the coven. This was my husband ended up purchasing this for me. This was at the gift shop at the resort we were at. And I saw it and immediately fell in love. It is a snake necklace, for those listening, that's made out of mother of pearl and onyx. And it's like a choker style necklace. I fell in love with it, and we went back the next day, and he's like, that's it. I'm getting you that for your anniversary, for our anniversary, you know, happy anniversary. And I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And the minute that I put it on, like, I do feel this shift in energy in me. But snakes started popping up. So the book that I brought to read at the pool had snakes in reference to transformation, not once, but twice. We're walking around the resort and there's like these signs of like, oh, this is the wildlife you could possibly see here, covered in snakes, like the signs were. So I started noticing that this snake icon was popping up. And this was after I had already asked about like what greater thing is happening here, or what is this anxiety all about? So the final day, Sunday morning, I'm laying in bed and I'm like, okay, I've seen all the snakes. This is great. Thank you. But like, I don't know, maybe I need a signier sign, because that's what we do, right? Like, oh, these are great, but like, can I get an actual sign so that I know it's a sign, right? I'm just like you all. Okay. So I said, if this anxiety is the precursor of something larger, like I'm, transforming, I'm up-leveling, whatever you want to call it. But if it's something bigger, then I want to see a snake before we leave the resort. And that's how I left it. Okay. That is open-ended how I left it. Okay. I guess in my mind, I assumed that we would be going out to the car, or we would be, going to check out or something, and we would see an actual snake, because we do like the resorts where there's lots of desert around, so snakes are very prevalent around here. What happened was I went to take a shower, and when I came out of the shower, Colin had the TV on, and I look up on the TV, and there's a white snake and a black snake and a red snake, and they're all like on the TV in the movie that he was watching, and they were all weaving amongst each other. And I just sat there for a second, and I stared at these snakes on the television, and I looked up and said, okay, well, I guess that counts, huh? Because I realized that I had just said I want to see a snake before we leave the resort. And so the funny thing is I immediately acknowledged it. I kind of laughed. I was like, okay, I get it. That's you did give me a sign, and here are snakes. And the scene cuts away to something else. And I'm just sitting there kind of laughing to myself, and it cuts back immediately to more snakes. And I'm like, okay, I got it. All right. So that's how this episode was born. That is the idea behind this. Okay. Because I did not see a literal snake like I thought I was asking for. I saw snakes on television. So these are the little types of nudges that happen when you ask for a sign and then open yourself to it. Okay. So the first thing that you have to understand when the universe or your guides or your intuition are whispering to you is that when you ask for a sign, it may not come in the form that you think it is going to come. Perfect example. I said I wanted to see a snake. I assumed that meant as we were walking out to the car or walking around that morning before we left. And instead, I got snakes on the television, which I accept as a sign because that's what I asked for, you guys. In its simplest form, I asked to see a snake before we left the resort. So, it rarely comes in a way or a form that you think it's going to come. And it's rarely blatant, okay? Like a blatant sign for me would have been I asked for a snake and then we saw a snake, like a real live living snake walking out to the car, okay? The universe works in easy ways, okay? When you ask for a message, when you ask for a sign, they're going to give it to you the easiest way that they know how and in a way that you will accept it, okay? That's another thing, is if you're truly open to receiving signs and receiving messages, then it's like your guides or the universe or whoever, they know what you're going to accept and what you're not going to accept, okay? So I'm at the point where my relationship with the universe is not literal. Okay, first of all, I do not like snakes. I dislike snakes greatly. Like physical, like I will not touch a snake. And if I see one, a real one, I will freeze in absolute. I don't like snakes. So had we seen a legit snake, I would have 100% known that this was a sign from the universe. But I also understand that snakes on the television, same thing. Okay, so the universe was like, I mean, sure, we could try and conjure up a snake and send it her way to walk across her path as she's going to her car, or movie, So that's what they did, okay? Magic is the same way. Magic takes the path of least resistance, okay? So just like magic or a spell may not happen the way that you want it to happen, it's going to happen in the way that is the easiest accessible way. That's what the same thing with signs and messages from the universe, your guides, your higher self. Okay. They're going to come to you easily or in an easy way and in a way that you will accept. Okay. So common whispers or little nudges include repeating numbers. So to further the story of that day, that was Sunday. Okay. I got home. I think we watched Happy Gilmore 2. And then I went and kind of did my own thing. I was half working on my computer, half watching television. Well, the first thing I noticed is when I opened up my computer, it was 4:44. And I'm like, okay, all right. So this to me is just further confirmation that I am open to the universe. Did I look up 444? I didn't. But I noted it. I said, okay, 444, this is a repeating number. So I understand that I am still in alignment with receiving messages. That was a nod from my higher self that I'm still open. Okay. Then I literally was typing something. I was half working, and the total of something was 333. And I went, okay, and I acknowledged it again, because this was literally 15 minutes later. I was like, okay, there's 333. I understand that I am still open and in alignment and receiving messages. And for me too, it was a confirmation back. These were confirmations back to my original question, okay, which was, am I going through something bigger than just anxiety right now? Is this a, transformation portal? What is this? Because I've had anxiety, but this felt different. So for me, seeing the snake on the television, which is what I blatantly asked for, but then also now seeing 444 and then the number 333, these were just further confirmation for my original question that I had asked. Okay. So you can definitely look up the meanings of repeating numbers, because, a lot of them are called angel numbers or things, but this is if you want the number interpreted. So if you see repeating numbers, 444, 333, things like that, or if you always happen to look at the clock at the same time, like 11:11, 12:12, 2:22. And you happen to do this all the time, then you can look up the numbers. They will have their own symbolic meaning. And basically there's so many different websites that will give you the meaning of numbers. You can go by numerology, or you can just you type in angel numbers and then that number. Just keep reading until they generally say the same thing, all the different websites, or at least there's hints of the same thing. Okay. But just know that repeating numbers are just confirmations themselves. Okay, so confirmation that you're on the right path. Confirmation that what you asked earlier is true. Okay, confirmation that you are open to receiving messages. So just know that just having those numbers appear is confirmation. Okay, a second common whisper is song lyrics or movie quotes, movie lines, social media scroll. You see the perfect quote or something. At the perfect moment. So you have asked a question of the universe, you want insight on something, and you're just randomly scrolling on social media, and here comes the perfect reels that answers your question. Or you hear a song on a radio and it's exactly what you needed to hear, or you hear a line, you're kind of paying attention to a television show, and then one of the characters says something that applies to your situation perfectly. Okay. These are also nudges. Okay. These are whispers. Okay. The third one, conversation coming up about something you were questioning but never asked out loud. So this is when the same thing keeps coming up in conversations with different people, or the same message or the same entity or the same character or something keeps coming up in multiple avenues. So this is where, let's say that you want to work with a deity, but you don't know who to work with. Okay. So you're like, okay, I open myself to any deities that might want to work with me. And then you're scrolling on your social media feed and Aphrodite pops up, in a post, and you're like, okay, Aphrodite noted. And then you're having a random conversation with a coworker and somebody says, oh, something Aphrodite or Venus, just like the goddess Venus. And you're like, okay, that's the second time. And then you're listening to a song and somebody mentions something about Venus, and you're like, okay, well, that's the third one. So if something is coming up, or if there's a conversation about something where you were questioning, but you never asked out loud, because you have to understand too, okay, if you're Googling about Aphrodite on your phone, your tracking cookies are going to pick that up, and then they're going to start showing you Aphrodite posts on social media. Okay. So let's say it's just something you've been mulling over in your head, never said it aloud to a human or near your phone. and all of a sudden it starts popping up for you, or answers to that question, or that thing that you're wanting to know start popping up, those are nudges. Those are whispers from the universe or your higher self, whatever. Okay. Something popping up numerous times, an animal, a deity, a person. So this goes along the same line. Doesn't necessarily have to come up in conversation maybe, but you start to see things. Like I started to see snakes everywhere. Now, was I also looking for snakes? I wasn't. Because my original question on Friday night was, why is this, is my anxiety, about something larger than me? Is this a precursor for something bigger than me, or is there a bigger meaning for my anxiety? And that's when I started seeing snakes, which deal with transformation. But a snake sheds its skin. It goes through what could be a slightly painful process in order to reach that transformation and to become new again. So that's when, once the snakes started popping up for me in multiple places, a book, the necklace, there was a third one too, because I think when my husband and I go away for the weekend, we literally nap and watch TV. Like it is just our time. We relax by a pool, but like it is our time to just decompress from everything. So there was another movie where a snake had was prevalent in a scene, and I was like, oh my God, another snake. And then it wasn't until Sunday morning that I specifically asked about the snake imagery to be shown that, So for Friday night and Saturday all day, the snakes popping up were just like, oh, synchronicities, but I hadn't even said, this was all done in my head too. Like I didn't say anything out loud. So to have these things start popping up, that was a sign for me. That was a nudge for me. Okay. So just keep in mind, if you are talking about it around your phone and you start seeing it, it could be the algorithm. It could be because they're listening. The phones are listening. Okay. Not to be a paranoid conspiracy theorist, but the phones are listening. You might mention something about, man, I really need to get a new mattress. And then bam, you start having mattress ads about 15 minutes later, I'm going to start having mattress ads now because my phone's sitting over there. I don't even need a new bed. But anyway, the last one, these are ones that I've just come across too, or that I experience quite frequently as nudges. Okay. Affirmation bumps. That's what I call goosebumps. But when you hear or see something that resonates with you, you'll get goosebumps, because that is like an energetic nod or an energetic confirmation that what you just heard or saw resonates with your energy. And now I just got goosebumps. Okay. That's why I call them affirmation bumps, because that's a way to know that whatever, so pay attention to whatever it was that you just heard or that you're watching or whatever it was, because whatever that was meant for you. It was meant for your energy. Okay. All right. Are whispers easy to miss? Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially in this day and age. Okay. Not only are there environmental factors where we're not in tune with ourselves as much as we probably should be. There's burnout. There's the media, creating, I don't know the last time I ever saw anything good on the news. That's why I don't watch it. But there's constant social media scrolling. There's constant numbing yourself out. There's so much noise online, on the television, in real life, the news bullshit. I call it an epidemic of perfectionism and people pleasing. We're kind of in that. Or at least we have been, and now we're realizing it. For those who are more my age, we're like, oh shit, we were striving for something we should have never been striving for because of the shit that we were brought up with, people pleasing or perfectionism, but so much more. So because of the current climate of not only the world, but the way that a lot of us have been raised and everything, we're not as in tune with ourselves as we should be. Okay. So Whispers and nudges happen all the time, and we're just not seeing them because we're busy doom scrolling, or we're busy worried about, creating the most perfect cupcakes for your kids' bake sale the next day. We're not picking up on them. Okay. Plus witches. I mean, especially new witches, I think experienced or ones who've been around for a while, we don't do this as much, but new witches, oh man, Hollywood makes witchcraft look sexy as fuck. Oh my God. I can think something and it will show up here. I can wave a wand and blue sparks will come out. And oh my God, magic is this. And if I ask for a sign from the universe, they're literally going to make a volcano explode. They're not, okay? Hollywood has led a lot of witches to believe that signs and signals and all of this kind of stuff have to be big and obvious. They're going to be obvious. It is literally going to be a blinking neon sign when you're walking home from the club one night. There's going to be a sign. It's not going to be this absolutely massive. It's more like the Final Destination movies. You gotta pick up on like, what was that little breeze over there? What happened? Why is that knife over there up? Why are there candles over there flickering? That's what if you're going to go with movie references, you got to go more with Final Destination than you do these absolutely massive, like neon blinking signs of what you're supposed to do next. Okay. So because all of this, and because you even have people on Witch Talk and you have people on social media saying, oh my God, I asked the universe for this amazing, I needed to know what to do with my life. And literally right in front of me, this door opened and I walked through it and I was given my most perfect job and they paid me double what they pay everybody else. And now all of my dreams have come true. Okay. It's not how it works. Okay. And even me, I'm sitting here telling you, I'm hoping you can understand that I'm telling you I asked for a sign of a snake and I got snakes on a television, That's what it's like, okay? So, whispers are so easy to miss. They really are, especially if you are not in tune with yourself, okay? Magic and intuition are not theatrical. They are intimate and subjective to each witch. What you see, hear, and feel is not going to be the same thing that someone else sees, hears, or feels. Okay, so the signs and the symbols and the synchronicities and the messages are going to be different for you than they are for any other person. And the way that you tune into it is your frequency matching with the frequency of the sign coming in or the message coming in. And that's different. It's different for every single witch. Okay, so just please throw out the window that your signs, your messages from the universe are going to be a neon sign blinking in front of you, telling you which way to go or what to do next. Okay. They're going to be little whispers and maybe you have to connect the dots and hopefully it's not Final Destination at the end of it, Okay. So how can you notice whispers? The first thing, you have got to get in tune with yourself. I cannot stress this over and over again. I stress it in so many different podcast episodes because as witches especially, this is the most important thing. You have got to be in tune with yourself so that you can feel subtle energy differences, so that you know in your body what is normal and what is not. So you know how you react to things physically, emotionally, mentally. The more that you know yourself, the more that you know your magic and the more that you can develop your magic. Okay. So you have got to get in tune with yourself and your body so that you can detect subtle shifts in your energy and therefore nudges. Okay. If you don't normally if you know when you get goosebumps and when you don't get goosebumps, then when you've opened yourself to messages and all of a sudden you hear something and you get goosebumps, oh, that's it right there. There's a feeling that comes with it too. Okay. So you have to get to know yourself. to understand how to interpret these whispers. Okay. Number 2, journaling. It helps so much. It really does. Even if you are literally just jotting down weird shit that happened during your day at the end of the day. Like you have a notebook on your bedside table and you're like, weird shit that happened today, and you just make a list. Takes you 3 minutes. You put it back on your bedside table, okay? Because what you'll start doing is you will start noticing synchronicities. You'll be writing something and you'll be like, had an eagle come by, and then you're like, wait a minute. And you flip back and you're like, shit, I had an eagle come by on Tuesday too. That's a little weird, you know? Journaling is, you start to see patterns form or things popping up over and over again, synchronicities, all of that if you just journal, okay? It can also be internal shifts too. For example, I sat down last night to journal and just kind of update like, oh, this is where I'm at right now. This is what happened over the weekend. I really feel like this is what's going on. And then I looked back to my journal entry from last week, and I had essentially said the same thing. I felt like, you know, my anxiety was building for a reason bigger than me at the moment. And, you know, I even used some of the same words. And I didn't read that journal entry before reading this one. I just open my journal and I start just brain dumping into it. So it was nice to kind of see those synchronicities and to see, oh, okay, I guess I have been a little bit more open than I even give myself credit for over the last week. So maybe there is something to this, you know? Number 3, after asking for a sign, remain open. Okay. Check in presently often so you can note things that are out of the norm. Okay. So this is all about being mindful and aware of your surroundings. Okay. Why this is super important. So let's say you've asked a question and you're open for a sign, and you look out the window and you see a hummingbird. Your first reaction is going to be, oh, a hummingbird. Let me write that down. Let me look up the symbolism of a hummingbird. But take a note of the hummingbird, but maybe you notice the next day that the hummingbird is at your window at the exact same time, and the next day, or maybe because you have been present and mindful in your life, you've noticed that, oh, that's just the local hummingbird that comes up to your house every day to say, what's up? So therefore, the hummingbird, after you ask the question, is not a symbol. You know, you just know that guy comes around every day. Like, oh yeah, I forgot I put up a hummingbird feeder and that's why he's here. So you know that the hummingbird is not a sign. Okay. So this is being mindful of your day-to-day surroundings, being mindful of things that pop up so that you know when something is weird. You know, I think I've told the story before about how the Morrigan reached out to me, or who I thought was the Morrigan reached out to me. Is we woke up one day and we were going about our business and we could just hear all of these ravens, and we looked in our backyard and there was probably 24 ravens in our backyard. That was not normal. Okay. That was out of the norm. And that's when I started paying attention. Like, okay, you guys have some information for me. I get it. But you know, like maybe it is normal for you. Like maybe you live in a rural area where every day certain birds fill your field in your backyard. You know, that's going to be normal for you, something that you notice every single day. So when you wake up one morning after asking for signs, you're not going to be like, oh, field full of birds, let me look it up. You're like, oh, that's normal. Okay. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Last one. Overall, remain open. Oh, no, wait a minute. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. I skipped 4. Okay. Communicate with your guides. This is a good one. Okay. I actually started this after reading one of I think it's Jamie Della's last book, but I don't know if she's written another one. And I can't for the life of me. I should have written it down. I didn't write down the name of it. But it's the one, if you go back on the podcast, I interviewed her about. So Jamie Della was on my podcast, A Box of Magic, maybe is what it's called. Anyway, she talks in there about how she had a disagreement with her guides, that if she was receiving a message or if she was getting confirmation for something, she would hear a bell. And she had worked this out with her guides, like talking to them. And, you know, and I was like, oh my God, I love that idea. So I actually started then. I'm a very tactile person. Okay. Tactile. Like I love touching things. I love fuzzy things. I love soft things. I communicate very well through touching. Okay. So when I read her book, I decided, I was like, okay, guides, I'm going to need you to touch. And preferably if you could touch the top of my head or my face, because these are things I'm not going to do normally. So you can't, have it be something that you normally are always feeling. Okay. So I communicated with my guides that if I'm receiving a message I'm like, oh shit, I don't know. Am I receiving them? Is this a message right now? That they would let me know. I would just feel a little thing at the top of my head or the side of my face or something like that. And that's confirmation that I am receiving a message. Okay. Or that the message, or I talk out loud because I talk to everything and everyone, even when I'm by myself. It's like, oh, I'm getting this. Is this correct? Okay, I just got this download, blah, 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 blah. Is this correct? Can you please confirm? And I'll just feel like just a little like doop, doop. And that's how I know. And if anyone here is listening has had a reading done by me, that's how I get confirmation. A lot of the times it's like, I'll just feel the top of my head and I'll be like, okay, well, that was confirmation, message received. There you go. So communicate with your guides and establish something. These are your guides or your higher self, or, they want you to get the message, So if you could say, okay, guys, when I receive a message, I'd like to hear a bell ring. Or when I receive a message, I'd like to have like ringing in my ears. This will show me that I am open, but I am receiving your message. I am receiving your signal, your sign. Okay. And that's how I'm going to do it. They want to help you and they will try to help you. So you may have to go through a few before you get one. Cause I used to have it. I wanted them to touch my right arm. And as you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, I talk with my hands. Okay. So it might be harder when I'm sitting here having a conversation with my higher self, my guides, my universe, the universe, whatever. And I'm sitting here trying, because I talk like this even when I'm by myself. I use my hands to talk. I'm a very motion-filled person. But yeah, it might be, it got to the point where like, I was like, what? And I'm sitting here like constantly okay, so you're not talking to me anymore. Is that not confirmation? But I'm using my hands to talk. And I'm like, okay, maybe we don't use the hands anymore, the arms. Because I would have to sit perfectly still and just sit there and like have a conversation, almost like a channeling session or, going into meditation. And I would have to sit perfectly still in order for that one to work. And it did if I was sitting still. But if I'm doing this kind of thing, and even like right now, if I were to get a message or a download, I know, okay, if I feel the top of my head being touched or the side of my face, and generally it's not going to be the side where my hair hangs down. It has to be the other one because I can feel this all day long. I can feel my hair on my face all day long. So communicate with your guides, set up some kind of communication system. Okay, like a nonverbal communication system so that you know when you're receiving messages. Okay, and then overall, the last one, remain open. Don't seek, but allow. So what I mean by that is when you ask a question, ask it, and then say, I am open to your signs and signals, your messages. I'm open for guidance. But don't sit there and then immediately become obsessed with finding the symbols or the signals or the messages. Okay. You cannot be hyper aware of everything, because then you're going to be you're going to be forcing almost. So state your question, what you're looking for, and then remain open. Don't seek out synchronicities. Just allow them to happen. So almost ask your question and then kind of forget about it, but remain open. Okay. Make note of what pops up, repeating numbers, dreams. The dreams are really good portals or conduits for messages. So write down any dreams that you have, things like that. But don't actively become obsessed with piecing together the puzzle. They will get you the message. Just let them know that you are open. And if you could have it done in a way, like I tell them all the time, like, you guys know what I'm going to pay attention to and what I'm not going to pay attention to. So I need you to put it in a form that I'm going to accept. All right. So for this week, I challenge you to tune in, ask a question, listen without needing words. That is the key for this, is you are asking for non-verbal communication from the universe, your guides, your higher self. So therefore, you have got to be open to non-verbal communication. Okay. And yes, movie quotes, song lyrics, technically words, but you're still being given the message in a non-verbal way. Like your guide is not coming down, standing in front of your face and giving you the message. They're using, the internet, the radio station, the television to give the message to you. Okay. Pay attention to what repeats. Pay attention to little synchronicities. Pay attention to if your answer is just flat out given to you. Like you ask a question and then something in a commercial or a movie flat out answers you, And honestly, don't ask for a signier sign, because look, I set myself up for failure on Sunday morning asking to see a snake before we left. Okay. I did. Okay. I truly did. When I came out of that shower and I saw the snakes on the television, I literally started laughing, because I was like, well, shit. Did I set myself up for failure? I did. I really, truly did. Because asking for a signier sign, sometimes your guides are like, fine. Sometimes your guides are like, fuck you. Okay. Like, I gave you 17 signs. What more do you want? And I think, honestly, it's because I was so vulnerable and I was so open. And at that moment, or for the whole weekend, I was so lost. Just lost in my anxiety, lost in why is this happening, lost in all of it, that my guides extended a little bit more. So when I asked for a specific snake sign, then they gave it to me as probably a pity sign, honestly. So don't set yourself up for failure by asking for a signier sign. If you've been sent this sign 17 times, take it, even if it's not what you wanted to hear. Okay. You asked the question. You didn't ask for a yes person. You asked for the truth. Okay. So that's what I have for you all today. The Patreon bonus content is a fun little ritual. It's like a little thing that I say when I do want to formally open myself, like if I am looking for answers to something. So it's not only something I do before meditation, but I have done it before, and before pulling cards for myself. So it can be just a general opening, or it can be specific before meditation or before divination. So it's just like a little ritual that I do or that I have done in the past to... It's like a little couple of items that you can use to really help open you up. So that's what the Patreon bonus content is for this episode. You also get a shout out on my Patreon when you become a paid member. You have to pay for one of the 3 tiers. The smallest one is $5 a month. The next one is $9 a month. The top one is $13. So I want to thank Tracy for being a new paid Patreon member this week. But you can head to patreon.com/inkedgoddesscreations. And that will actually, like, once you pay, I think you get access to all of it, like even past content, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, thank you for my paid Patreon members. But thank you all for listening, for being here. I loved hearing your comments. I know I just kind of stopped for a second. I do post on Instagram and TikTok. I post the video of like a little sound bite when the episode comes out. I love reading y'all's comments. I do. Especially like your practices or things that really resonated with you from the episode. So definitely on Instagram or TikTok, please let me know in the captions, like if you're going to tune in for the next week, if you're going to take this little challenge seriously, ask a question, listen. Did something happen? Like, did it happen quickly? Did you get the nudges? Did you get an answer? Like, I love reading all of that kind of stuff. So definitely hit me up on social media, in the comments, and let me know what you thought of this episode. But please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff so that other magically curious people can find the podcast as well. But thank you for being here and being a listener. It means a lot to me. And I will see you all next week. Bye. If you're looking for a magical community where you can just be yourself, check out my Ink Spirit Coven. The Coven is an online learning circle for eclectic witches who want to learn new witchcraft practices and how to easily incorporate magic into their daily lives, all while being supported on their personal spiritual journey. And you'll have me as your magical mentor, sharing my knowledge, answering questions, and facilitating the online community. Head to inkspirit.com to learn more and join. And if unique witchcraft supplies made by witches for witches is just what you need, head to my store, inkgoddesscreations.com, to see what we have to enhance your magical practice. We also have the Ink Goddess Creations box, a monthly subscription of magic mail filled with exclusive items that fit a magical theme. Head to the site to see this month's theme and sneak peeks.